we want to look for an oblique asymptote if the degree of the top equals the degree of the bottom plus 1. We can find it using long division or synthetic when possible. In this example, let's go through and find the oblique asymptote. Notice that the top degree is more than the bottom. That means we don't have a horizontal asymptote. But more specifically, notice that the top is one more degree than the bottom. If that's the case, then we can look for the oblique or slant asymptote. And we can do that using division. In this case, notice the divisor is linear. Since it's linear, we can use synthetic division to make our work a little bit quicker. We'll put 2 in the box and then copy the coefficients of the numerator and do the division. Drop down the 1, 2 times 1 is 2, add and we get a 6. And technically we can stop here because the remainder is not going to help us, but let's just keep going to practice. 2 times 6 is 12, add and we get a 13. Now in the past we wanted the remainder to be 0, but we're not looking for zeros this time, we're looking for the oblique asymptote. We actually simply ignore the remainder, it's not going to do anything for us. What we do want to do is look at the result. Remember that quotient written as a polynomial would be x plus 6. Now all we have to do is throw y equals in front of it, and we have the equation of our oblique or slant asymptote. Y equals x plus 6. In the next example, again, recognize that the numerator is bigger than the denominator. That means we don't have a horizontal asymptote. However, the top is one more degree than the bottom, which means we can look for the oblique or slant asymptote. In this case, the denominator is not linear, so synthetic division will not work. We have to resort to long division. So on the outside, we have x squared minus 3x plus 5. And then inside the house, we have the dividend, x cubed plus 2x squared. We need a 0 placeholder for the x, and then minus 1. And now we'll go through and do the long division. First term divided by first term. So in your head or off to the side, x cubed divided by x squared is x. That goes in the quotient. Now we'll multiply, distribute the x. X times x squared is x cubed. X times negative 3x is negative 3x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Then we'll subtract that polynomial. X cubed minus x cubed goes to 0. 2x squared minus negative 3x squared, that's 2 plus 3, gives us 5x squared. Then we have 0 minus 5, that's minus 5x. And then we'll drop down the minus 1. And now we repeat this process. First term divided by first term. So in your head or off to the side, 5x squared divided by x squared gives us 5. So that goes in the quotient. And technically we're done at this point because the remainder is going to be ignored anyway. But just to continue practicing the division, 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times negative 3x is negative 15x. And then 5 times 5 is 25. Then we subtract. 5x squared minus 5x squared is 0. Negative 5x minus negative 15, that's really plus 15, will give us 10x. And then negative 1 minus 25 is negative 26. We then completely ignore the remainder. It means nothing to us in this case. So looking at the quotient up here, again, we just need to throw y equals in front of it, and we have the equation of our slant, aka oblique asymptote.